The year was 1947. Jackie Robinson of the Brooklyn Dodgers stepped up to the plate. For the first time in the history of Major League Baseball, a black man was up to bat. In the stands, a young boy looks on with fascination and curiosity. Then the fans begin to taunt Jackie. Hey, N-word, get out of here. Go back where you belong. The young boy is shocked. This is wrong. Then he hears his father following suit. Yeah, get out of here. Go back where you belong. And the boy follows in his father's footsteps. Yeah, get out of here. This is a scene for the movie 42, a movie about the first Black Major League Baseball player, Jackie Robinson. I believe we all come into this world essentially colorblind, oblivious to our differences that are based on the color of our skin. We come into this world recognizing each and every one as our brothers and sisters, regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of creed. But so often we feel the pressures of society and we conform. The first time I ever experienced prejudice, I was 11 years old, and my parents had just moved me down to Puerto Rico. I discovered that many of the natives of Puerto Rico did not like gringos. Gringo was the term used to describe Americans born outside of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an American territory. Puerto Ricans are Americans, but many natives of the island resent gringos. I've seen protests and demonstrations in the street. I've seen natives walking down the street yelling out, Yankee, go home. Yankee, go home. I've heard bombs going off in hotels and casinos that are frequented by gringos. The best solace I had in escaping that insanity was through team sports. And team sports were all working together for the same goal, regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of creed. As a team, we all learned to trust each other. Some of my best friends were people from Puerto Rico, from Asia, from China. But some of the most challenging times that I had around prejudice were surrounding individual sports, like surfing. In surfing, everybody's battling for the same wave. Even in Southern California, often fights break out because everyone wants the same wave. Tempers flare and people get hurt. Add to that racial tension and things can get really nasty. One year while living in Puerto Rico, I invited my friend Bill down from San Diego. Bill was tall, good looking, blue-eyed blonde. And a group of Puerto Rican surfers, he stood out like a sore thumb. One day we went out and you could feel the racial tension the minute we got into the water. Locals would cut in our way as we were paddling for waves. We would catch waves and they'd drop in and get in our way. We were lucky to get out of there without a fight. Then a couple of years later, I was out surfing at my favorite spot, Aviones. Aviones means airplanes. It's so named because it's in the flight path to San Juan International Airport. Now, typically this break is about a couple of 100 yards out. And if there's not too big a surf, the channel is calm and you can paddle out in about 15 to 20 minutes. But on this particular day, the waves were pumping and it took you about 45 minutes to paddle out through all the pounding tubular waves on the channel. And if you rode a wave in too far, you got drilled into the reef. Well, on one particular wave, I stayed in too long and I got drilled into the reef. My leash came loose from my leg and my board went bouncing in. I got up. I took one step on the reef. Pins, sea urchin quills pierced through my feet. I took another step, more piercing through my feet. I turned and dove back out into the water and began swimming towards the channel, but the riptide was too strong and it was pulling me towards rocks, and I needed my board. And I was thinking to myself, who in their right mind would bring my board out to me on a day like today? Certainly not me. But I kept swimming. I kept looking for somebody that would bring my board out. And finally I saw a head just pop over a wave as he paddled out over the wave. And I looked at him, like, there's no board there. And I looked at him and it's like, oh no, he's a Puerto Rican. He'd never bring me on board. But then I looked, there's another leash on his leg. My board. Gracias, gracias, amigo, gracias. He paddled over to me within about 100 feet, released the board, and paddled on. He never looked at me. His pride and dedication to his people prevented it. I believe we're all born into this world essentially colorblind, oblivious to our differences that are based on the color of our skin. But often we are pressured by society. Don't give into it. We are all brothers and sisters. Madam Toastmasters, I can tell it's not as good.